each of the three main Call of Duty developers have their own versions of zombies. We have had and still have Treyarch zombies, we've had SledgeHammer zombies, and we've had Infinity Ward's version of zombies. And most of them, or 2 out of the 3 developers, have had more than one attempt to give us a zombies mode. We have multiple different Treyarch zombies games, we've had a couple of iterations of SledgeHammer zombies, and we've seen one zombies mode from Infinity Ward, because the other third modes that we had from them were either Spec Ops or Extinction. And if I had to summarise or just give 1 or 2 words on each of their own zombies modes, I would say Treyarch's are more cartoony and fantasy, SledgeHammer zombies is more realistic, dark and gritty, and Infinity Ward's was, I would say, the craziest, the most different. But which developer's version of zombies is better? What makes them different? And is there a reason that each of these developers should get another attempt at creating their own zombies? We know Treyarch will in 2024, but as for the other 2 developers, we don't know. But even though they've all created a Call of Duty Zombies mode, what are the differences between each of the 3 developers? Now, what I've decided to do, since like I said, both Treyarch and SledgeHammer have had multiple different takes on COD Zombies, I've picked what I think are the best ones from each of them. So for Treyarch, BO3 Zombies is going to be representing them. For SledgeHammer, I've picked Exo Zombies. We've seen plenty of different versions of World War II Zombies before. Personally, I think Exo is their most unique version, and for me, is slightly more interesting than World War II Zombies. And representing Infinity Ward is their only zombies mode, Infinite Warfare Zombies. Now for me, the number one thing you look at first when it comes to any zombies are the maps. This is what makes or breaks a zombies game. As long as you have good maps, along with that comes good gameplay, and a good map should also include Easter eggs, which is 1/4 of zombies. I always say the gameplay, Easter eggs, the storyline, and the maps are what makes a COD Zombies mode. So Easter eggs being 1/4 of that, and because they're already integrated into maps, I don't think you can have a good map without Easter eggs, and the storyline as well. And since Treyarch started off the zombies mode back in 2008, without them, COD Zombies wouldn't even exist. This is their baby. They were the pioneers. They led the way. If they didn't and it was a different developer, then who knows, maybe Easter eggs wouldn't be so important in zombies. Maybe we'd just get 1 or 2 a map instead of 10 plus that we're used to expecting nowadays. But just putting all of that to the side for just a second, starting off with the gameplay, I've always thought Treyarch's games look more cartoony. That's not just specific to zombies, and that has changed over the past couple of games. If you compare World at War, Black Ops 1, 2, 3 and 4 to Cold War and Vanguard Zombies, you will notice a drastic difference. Part of that is also because Vanguard Zombies and Cold War Zombies weren't originally Treyarch games, they were both SledgeHammers, which might explain why the more cartoony feel of a Treyarch game wasn't present in the latest 2, but generally if you just look at the gameplay here from BO3, you will notice a more cartoony vibe to it. And for me that doesn't go hand in hand with realism in terms of the storyline, because if we look at World at War and Black Ops 1, what Treyarch told us there, they were going down the route of science and history, following Group 935 and Germany, and then as we progressed onto Black Ops 2, 3 and 4, they changed the story and started following fantasy, including alien creatures which we know are the Apothicons and the Keepers, more wackier wonder weapons. So really it depends what you want. If you do want a more realistic version of zombies, then maybe SledgeHammers is more suited to you, because whether you're looking at EXO or World War II, I think both of them are probably more realistic than anything we've seen from Treyarch. Even though EXO has boost jumping, if you actually follow the storyline, let's just say we're living in a video game world, I think the storyline here is more believable than what Treyarch were trying to tell, being stuck in an endless cycle. Let's not get onto that, I could go on for hours. But if you just look at the footage, it looks a little bit more realistic, simply because that is the tone that SledgeHammer go for in their games. It's not really zombie specific. The one major downside I do have to SledgeHammer's version of zombies when it comes to the gameplay is just how washed out the colour palette is. The amount of greys, browns, different shades of black. It looks very grey compared to the bright colour scheme that we see in Treyarch Zombies, which does go hand in hand with the realism horror feeling that they were going for, but at the same time is a little bit of a boring colour scheme. It does mean that each DLC map feels a lot more similar to each other than what Treyarch's do. If you look at Dreisendrache compared to Garrod Karovi compared to Zetsubonoshima, the colours in all of those maps are different. Dreisen is predominantly blue, Garrod Karovi is red, Zetsubonoshima is green. Each map has its own unique colour palette, whereas SledgeHammer's, every map follows the same grey, brown and black colour scheme. making them feel a lot more similar to each other. And then we come over to Infinity Ward Zombies, which I would say followed a pretty similar pattern to what Treyarch did. Zombies in Spaceland was extremely colourful. It felt like a movie, which it was supposed to be. We had Raven the Redwoods attack of the radioactive thing, and especially because of the time jumps in Infinite Warfare Zombies, I think Infinity Ward really played on that, where it felt like, and I could be wrong here, but each of their maps not only had their own unique colour scheme, but also had its own filter. Out of the three, my favourite is definitely Treyarch's. Although Infinity Ward's was pretty close, I found SledgeHammer's just a little bit boring, but there are players out there who this would be more suited to. I think if it was for a zombies game that wasn't Call of Duty, then this would be great. But COD to me has always been an arcade shooter anyway, and the more brighter colours just suit Call of Duty as a whole. So to me, Treyarch and Infinity Ward maps were a lot more interesting, but SledgeHammer's did feel more realistic. They were specifically going for the dark gritty tone, whereas Treyarch and Infinity Ward weren't. So it isn't a negative, because that's what they were going for. But it does mean for me, it makes Treyarch's and Infinity Ward's maps just a little bit better. Now of course that doesn't apply to all of them, because for example on BO3 we have a map like Zetsubonoshima, which is probably considered to be the worst on that game, I would say. Definitely not the worst zombies map we've ever had. It was okay. If we go over to SledgeHammer Zombies, the first map, the Final Rag, I think was definitely the best one. After that it went downhill quite quickly, but a lot of people would argue the Final Rag is better than Zetsubonoshima. I wouldn't be against that. I think the Final Rag is a good map. And Infinity Ward has Zombies in Spaceland, which is 100% the best map on that game, and I think better than Zetsubonoshima, and actually better than quite a few Treyarch maps. So for that reason it's difficult to say that, yeah, Treyarch Zombies is 100% better than SledgeHammer's or Infinity Ward's or vice versa, because weirdly, whereas you might not do this with a lot of games, we compare zombies from map to map. One map could be great, one map could be bad, so having one great or one bad map doesn't determine a great or bad game, because if that was the case, Black Ops 2 would be the worst zombies because it's got Transit on it. But it isn't, because it also has Mob of the Dead and Origins and Buried. So just off maps alone, I don't think you can say which developer is better than the other. Treyarch definitely have the advantage because they've got more games out there. They've got World at War, BO1, 2, 3, 4, Cold War, Vanguard, whereas SledgeHammer just have World War 2 and Exo Zombies. Infinity Ward only have one game. There is a lot more Treyarch maps to choose from, but if Treyarch only had 2 games, and SledgeHammer had 2, and Infinity Ward had 2, then who knows? So yes, Treyarch have a lot more maps that are better, but our other 2 developers also haven't had the same amount of chances. Continuing talking about that subject though, I will say SledgeHammer's is the most unique when it comes to gameplay, simply because it's the only one out of the 3 that has a different movement, being the boost jumping. Both you, the player, and the zombies can boost jump. You're both exoed up. Treyarch's and Infinity Ward Zombies are both boots on the ground, if you don't count the little sections that we have in Dreisendrache, for example. So SledgeHammer definitely has the most unique zombies when it comes to the movement. That doesn't mean it's the best though. I think boots on the ground suit zombies a hell of a lot better. Even if the zombies weren't able to exo jump and just you were, I couldn't see myself playing with this movement system in a zombies mode for more than one game. So yes, SledgeHammer's movement system for zombies is more unique, but I don't think it's better than what we've seen from Treyarch or Infinity Ward. And it also means, for me, it's the hardest as well. I think the gameplay that we had in Exo Zombies is a hell of a lot harder than any Treyarch Zombies game. It's quite a bit harder than Infinite Warfare Zombies. Even if we look at their other attempt, World War II Zombies, that was difficult as well compared to Treyarch's or Infinity Ward's, and that was boots on the ground. So the difficulty isn't necessarily only to do with the boost jumping. I think the maps played a part, but the zombies felt a lot more aggressive. The movement didn't feel quite as smooth to me. And when I look at all of these things that make a map and in turn make the gameplay, the dark, realistic, gritty, dull tone of SledgeHammer's Zombies maps, the washed out colour palette, the boost jumping, and the difficulty, for me, it's got to be the least enjoyable. But there's a lot more to it. Easter eggs is also an integral part of COD. To be fair, each of the 3 devs does a good job of this. There are games that we've had from Treyarch like Vanguard and Cold War that don't contain as many Easter eggs as some of their other games. Infinity Ward Zombies has quite a lot of Easter eggs, so does SledgeHammer Zombies. All of them do a pretty good job when it comes to the amount of them in the game. And when it comes to the big one, the main Easter egg quests, and alongside that, boss fights, for me it's a head-to-head between Treyarch and Infinity Ward. SledgeHammer can sit this one out, but Treyarch have had some fantastic boss fights over the years, and so have Infinity Ward, considering we've only had one game from them. In Infinite Warfare Zombies, we had the Aliens, the Super Slasher, Croczilla, the Rat King, Mephistopheles. In Treyarch, we've had loads of different boss battles, the Elephants in 9, which I think are the coolest, the Shadow Man, Brutus, etc. Treyarch probably take the title just because they have a lot more, but for what we had from Infinity Ward, I have to take my hat off. I really enjoyed what they were able to provide. But the one thing I will give to them is the super Easter egg. I still think to this day, Infinite Warfare Zombies has the best super Easter egg we've ever seen in a zombies mode. Treyarch have had so many attempts to make zombies, but I don't think they've ever matched this. We have in quotation marks a super Easter egg in BO3, but it's not really. You get rewards such as a different starting pistol. It's the same with BO4, but Infinite Warfare upped the game and I don't think it's been matched. So when it comes to Easter eggs, both Treyarch and Infinity Ward are head to head here for me. But where they're not is the storyline. Now Treyarch have had 7 zombies games to fledge out their storyline. It started in World at War and then continued to be told all the way until BO4, where they reset the story and then told a brand new one from Cold War to Vanguard to now Modern Warfare 3. So actually 8 zombies, not 7. I forgot about Modern Warfare 3. So maybe it's a little bit unfair because Infinity Ward only had 1 game to tell their story. SledgeHammer had 1 because World War 2 and XO are totally different storylines. Treyarch have had 8 games to tell the same storyline. Granted, there's been a reset in the middle, so maybe it's unfair, but the story that Treyarch have told in their zombies mode is unreal, and you could argue, for me at least, maybe I'm biased, because it's my favourite part of zombies. Do I play the game an awful lot? No. I complete Easter eggs maybe once or twice and then I'm done, but when it comes to the story, I'll go over it over and over again because it's so interesting to me. It's like a movie. Over the past couple of games, it's gotten a little bit weaker for me, but everything that's involved in Treyarch Zombie's storyline, the characters, whether it be Richtof and Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey, or the Mob of the Dead cast, the Call of the Dead cast, their selection of Zombies characters are amazing, but our main crew, Richtof and Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey, can't be beaten. SledgeHammer Zombies, specifically in World War II, had a pretty good selection of celebrities in my opinion. David Tennant was really good, and Infinity Ward, the same could be said for them, but they weren't as loved. There just wasn't a connection between us, the players, and these video game characters that we got with specifically the Primus and Ultimus characters from Treyarch. No other developer has been able to do that. I actually think these are some of the best video game characters in history, not just zombies, not just COD, in any video game. They are iconic. And because that's a part of the storyline, they tell the story. It's yet another reason why Treyarch's storyline is just 10 times better than what SledgeHammer or Infinity Ward told. So that covers the gameplay, the maps, the storyline, the Easter eggs, all 4 of the main points that make a zombies mode. The few final things I will say about each of their own versions of zombies is Treyarch, I think, were the trendsetters. They introduced the basic mechanics such as the perks, the pack-a-punch, wonder weapons that we've seen later on in SledgeHammers and Infinity Wards. These are ideas created by Treyarch, became a staple in COD Zombies, and have been used in these other developers' versions. If you want a crazy experience, maybe Infinite Warfare Zombies is the best. If you want a realistic horror zombies, play SledgeHammers, but if you want the best balance, I think that goes to Treyarch. They have maps that have the horror element, they have some crazy maps, but more so, they've got a map for everyone. Whatever you want from COD Zombies, there is at least a few maps from Treyarch or a few different games from them that will give you that, whereas there might only be one from SledgeHammer or Infinity Ward, and if there isn't one, then there is none. Treyarch Zombies has everything. It doesn't mean they're the best in every department, but I think they have the best zombies all round. But that's not to disregard what the other devs did. SledgeHammer and Infinity Ward gave us something different, and in their own right, are valuable. So there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed the video today. If you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.